Welcome to Rich Conversations. This is another one of our Rich Reflections sessions where we're going to take about 30 to 50 minutes out of our day to simply just think more intentionally about it. It's a beautiful summer day here on the farm. Not too hot. We've got some clouds that cover the sun every now and then. So let's just take this time to just think more about life. I'll pose some questions and just put thought into it. You know, whether you're writing in a notebook, whether you're typing on your phone, whether you're just thinking, let's make the most of this time together. And we'll start this session, how we do every session, and that's 5 minutes of breathing. Seems easy, but if it were so easy, why don't more people do it? No, seriously, we do this so that we can recenter ourselves, so that when we are putting thought into something, we can give our full energy and attention. All right, I set the timer. Oh yeah, in nature, this is the best, isn't it? Now we're just breathing in and out. If thoughts come to mind, just let them pass. And we want to try to sit on a flat surface and sit up straight. Think of it as like, there's a string with your spine and someone's pulling it above you. You know, you just want to be straight up and down as much as you can. All right. The alarm of destiny. That was 5 minutes of breathing. How we feeling? We feeling good? Let's get going. First question, what are we grateful for? Fantastic question to start off with, as always. I was walking up the stairs yesterday, and I thought to myself, I'm really grateful that I can just do this so easily, because it might not always be that case, you know. As we get older, our body just biologically just breaks down, and so something as small as just walking up, a story of stairs can be the most challenging thing in the day. So that was on my mind, and I was like, yeah, look how awesome I can climb these stairs, walk up these steps. So maybe when you're writing today about what you're grateful for, maybe, think of something like that. Something seemingly so small, but so profound in a way. I was thinking about I was at the office and I was doing some meditation actually on outside, and then Kitty comes up to me. She's like a hybrid indoor-outdoor cat. Originally born in the wild, and then she seduced humans into basically running the house. But in the summer, she's out and about, and she came up to me after she's been outside for like 2 days. She came up to me and was meowing at me like she was saying something. And I think that's so interesting, like to take the time to recognize another animal, another thing going on. I like that. Kind of something we were discussing last week on slowing down, going fast. Let's pick up on that, and something adjacent to that is something I struggle with, something I think a lot of people struggle with. It's taking on more than maybe we humanly can. We're always thinking about the next thing, but we got to make sure that we're right here, we're being present, and we're taking care of, the things in front of us. And the question within this is, what things can we say no to? Going on in our life right now? With things or even people. Ooh, nice. Got some shade now. Right as I started this recording, all of a sudden there's no clouds and then the sun is coming down. But clouds are saying hello again. I was also thinking earlier today that I really don't have wasteful days. I am able to make the most out of each day. Like move whatever I'm I don't want to say projects, but like stuff going on, I'm able to advance it in some manner each day. I say that as I have to I don't have to. I'm designing a few books right now. And instead of what I've been finding is on our minds making things bigger than they are. So if say I'm designing 3 books, how about let's start with 1? How about let's design 1 book right now? And then all of a sudden the mind is like, oh yeah, I can do that. Rather than thinking about the big overarching things, just take a part of it, break it down, and just make it manageable right in front of you. So what's something big we can deconstruct more? Something I'm doing right now is chasing the Beatles catalog. I've gotten really into music over the last month and a half, and I've released 14 albums. I'm pursuing the Beatles catalog number of 213 songs. Right now I'm at 176. And so that's occupying a lot of my headspace and energy. And there's a bit of a slip in my book publishing diligence. Nothing dramatic, just like a little shift. But I'm not far away from beating the Beatles in their catalog, so within the next week and a half, I'll conclude that. Pretty astonishing. I'm having a lot of fun. And let's take this idea, something I've been adjusting is my approach with how I speak of things. So instead of work, I say play. And I think with playing, our mind is in the framework that we're having fun and we're more free. Whereas if we're saying, oh, I got work to do, then our mind is just at least I notice in myself, it kind of brings the joy down a little bit, because it's I have to do this. I need to do this. Rather than play, it's oh, I'm gonna go play in the office. The stakes all of a sudden are much lower. And so it kind of goes hand in hand with, how can you take something big and deconstruct it so that it's smaller and more manageable? It's kind of a different approach with that. When you're thinking about things, instead of thinking about it as work, think of it as play. And I think that happens with gratitude. What are we grateful for? How about, really this is something I want to do. And so frame it that way when we are about to work on it, I'm about to play. I'm about to go have fun, rather than, oh, I got to do this or I need to do that. What things do we refer to as work that we could instead refer to as play? I think there's some magic in that. And I think when I think of artists, the greatest artists play, and they create being present in a state of joy, freedom, and making it for themselves, rather than if an artist feels like something is work. I don't know if the quality or the level of the level of quality really matches their potential. It's something on my mind lately. It's something I've gone back and forth on with the podcast. Is like there are definitely moments where it feels like work, and then also play. For me lately, it's been identifying how I can approach it more as play rather than work. I do enjoy it. I love this part of it. I love the recording. I love showing up and hanging out. It's all the after stuff, the process of, uploading files, moving around files, editing files, writing descriptions and stuff. So I'm configuring it to get it to where I can do this as much as possible, or that be my largest effort in regards to it. 4th of July coming up. When you're listening and watching this, it will have passed. But let's take a moment just to think about freedom. What do we appreciate about life that we're free to do? What in life do we appreciate we're free to do? It's almost like going back to those stairs, like walking upstairs and just being grateful to be able to do that. But we don't think about that. A lot of things we're free to do, we take for granted, and we don't know. We don't really think about it until we lose it, What is it, like loss? Isn't there a phrase like loss? You don't know what you lost until you lose it, or something. You don't know what you have until you lose it. Something around around that statement. You don't know how to live until you've grappled with death. Something like that. I don't know. Thinking about someone from another country coming to the United States and visiting Vegas. I wonder what goes through their mind. I've seen people from other countries in Times Square, and it's quite interesting to observe because as Americans, like a certain demographic of Americans take going to Times Square for granted. It's touristy, it's kitschy, it's not like authentic, but to other people, Americans included, like going to Times Square, it's like, you made it. This is America. And so I've gone there a few different times, and I just see people taking selfies around all these lit up screens. And it frames my perspective a little differently. A lot of New Yorkers don't like Times Square. Recent visits to New York, I have found myself in the Times Square area. One time included, what pizza place was that? One of the best pizza places, actually. It had this really long line. And this was maybe at midnight or 1 a.m. I got 2 slices. And I was on Broadway. They shut it down. Was it Broadway? It's one of those big streets. And they shut it down, and I'm just sitting there at just like a table and fold-up chair, just eating pizza in Times Square with all the lights going on. And then I see people from other countries, like taking selfies and like posing like they're a badass, But if you like reframe it from like a certain American's point of view, it's like, it's lame, So it's interesting how culturally things can be different meanings. On that note, what's the last touristy place that we've been? Mine's probably the Art Institute. I was there 2 weeks ago in Chicago. And I personally like being around tourists in Chicago. There's a lot of energy, happiness, smiles, joy. Summer in Chicago, it's just so incredible. And walking around Michigan and Millennium Park, and yeah, so a lot of people. I saw Frida Kahlo in Paris. They had this exhibit. I go there and I work in the member lounge. It's probably my favorite place to play. Again, I'm trying to substitute the word play when I would usually say work. So I play on my computer there. They got the fastest internet. It's like, I regularly check it. I checked it when I was there. It was like 315 megabytes a second, which a lot of these internet providers, they say, like 500 gigabytes, not 500 megabytes a second, and then you test it and it's like 70, which is okay, but 315, you're flying. It's lightning at the Art Institute. I used to, when I lived in Chicago, I would go there and do all my file organization there, because it would just be like just zipping everything around. That's something I need to do more of. Organization, processing. So the question is, like, do we take the time to process and organize not only files, but things in life and in general? That's something I could get better at. When I lived in Chicago, Mondays were my processing days. I called them processing days. And I would kind of just go drift away, often at the Art Institute, actually, and organize the files from the week. Put them where they need to be. Think about what's happening in life, what's coming up. Because if we're not doing that, then it's just like one big cluster F of disorganization, and it affects the mind, and we're not able to really attack and approach things with full energy. I overheard someone at a grocery store say, when you own something, it owns you. Someone was talking about a house. They were having this conversation about a house, and on the surface, it seems great. I own a house. Do you, or does it own you? There are a lot of things we don't consider. And I think it's important to take stock of what we do own, what we don't want to own, because it affects also how quickly we're able to move in life. Things can become a burden, whether physically or mentally. And if we're not intentional, then we find ourselves in situations where we are weighed down tremendously. People don't think about that stuff. We're thinking about it now, but yeah, it's important to stay up to date and just like take a step back, take notes of that stuff. I want to go back to the 4th of July a little bit. What do you visualize the best 4th of July to be? What are you doing? What is that situation like? Who's around you? Where are you? What are you doing, Fourth of July. Fourth of July. This is summer. I like how the transition has been clear. A few weeks ago, it was like, are we in summer? It feels like late spring. We're not quite there yet. And now, here we are. Love it. So this upcoming week, take some time to just stop and take a step back. Breathe. And be all right. All right, let's close it out with, what are we energized for in the next week? always good to be energized for something coming up. Otherwise, the days, the weeks, the months, they feel endless. And like we're getting pulled along. We want to be kind of like attacking. And it also is part of that process of gratitude, to look forward to something and think to yourself, wow, I'm really grateful that I'll be able to do this, that I am doing this, that I have people to do this with. It's really cool. So enjoy the next week of summer. So I think most people listening and watching are in the Northern Hemisphere. Could be wrong. But go out there, live life, breathe, and inspire the future.